From rookie letdown to sophomore boom, this is why Xavier Legette is due for a big year. Let's go.
Brace yourself for the ultimate Carolina Panthers experience. Welcome to Two Growls, One Roar, the podcast that hits harder than a Luke Kuechly tackle. We're diving deep into the heart of Panther Nation, bringing you unrivaled passion, insider takes, and pure gridiron fire. From Wilmington to the cosmos, this is your home for the fiercest football talk east or west of Charlotte.
Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. As always, folks, please hit that subscribe button. I will take a second to plug the podcast itself, folks. One, we produce quite a few episodes per week for you guys on YouTube, on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. It's much appreciated, as if you now search Google for the top Panthers podcast, at least as of right now, our show is in the mix. And that just says, one, that you guys are listening, which I appreciate, and that our hard work is paying off. Not that I didn't think it paid off, but I try to be the most consistent. I do deliver more content than most, and that is my tagline as a solo show. My effort is to get you guys as much as I can. So anyways, let's divert and turn our attention to second-year wide receiver Xavier Legette. And, you know, guys that have followed me and gals from the very beginning, I was a fan of Xavier. And yes, I'm biased. You don't see any Gamecocks paraphernalia content up behind me, but they are my second team due to family. They're a fun team to pull for when they're winning football games, fun environment. So all those things check the boxes. And as we sit here, of course, I think it's time to take a step back. And really the reason that I wanted to put this video together was to talk through what some may consider rookie struggles. Let's analyze it. Let's talk about what we know, how Xavier has learned from that, what's happened this offseason, how we think he's going to have a better year in 2025. It's a lot of pieces to it. Primary reason that I decided to put this content together is because there are a lot of folks within the Panthers fan base that are absolutely downing this guy. I mean, you would not believe how many people don't want him to succeed, or they get mad that he spends any second away from football. And I mean, I tweeted out when he went to the Kentucky Derby, and he replied to the post, which I sent out, that like, just because you don't see him posting a video every day, working and doing all these things, that doesn't mean he's not working. And sure enough, that's exactly what he said when he replied. And then everybody shut their mouths, which is great. It wasn't everybody. It was just a portion of the fan base, unfortunately. But I'm here to tell you, if you're one of those that's pissed that he is not showing you 500 videos of him running routes and doing this and all the workouts, and you need to get a life, quite frankly. But I can't help you with that. I cannot help you get a life. So what we can do is break this thing down. So you go all the way back. So we entered the National Football League with an impressive array of physical gifts and expectations that go with that. His rookie season was a complex picture marked by both flashes of potential and, of course, notable challenges. Following this offseason characterized by intense dedication and refinement, I think there's reason to have optimism in Xavier and his potential for this year. And that's why we're here to break it down. So I think we go back and just a look back at year one, his rookie season. It was a high expectations. Now, to be fair, a lot of people say he's a first-round pick. Yes, he is a fringe. Yes, by the definition of where he was selected, he was a first-round pick. Very easily could have been a second-round pick. Like, he was teetering right there. But he's picked 32, gives the Panthers the fifth-year option. They did not have a first-round pick. They traded back in. Those things made sense. So he selected at 32nd overall. Coming from, of course, the University of South Carolina, as I mentioned, very fast wide receiver, a little over 4.39-ish speed on his 40-yard dash. And man, that's fast. I got to tell you, you look at Jimmy Horn Jr., who a lot of people say he's a fast wide receiver for the Panthers now. Xavier is just as fast, if not faster than him. So I think that's one thing to remember. And he is a much bigger receiver. Where he excelled was getting open. We can acknowledge that, yeah, there were some bumps in the road, primarily the drops. I mean, that was no doubt the biggest topic that we had around Xavier. Now, to be fair to him, too, he's a rookie. Outside of Adam Thielen, and of course, you have Jalen Coker. Wasn't the greatest room to be in when you think about Deontay Johnson, who was here, and Deontay Johnson forces himself out. Not a great example for a rookie, not a great example for any locker room to have someone that's bringing that much tension into the room and to the team. So it's not, of course, you have Adam Thielen, which turns out to be pretty good to learn from. But overall, you mix that thing in, and then you have the situation with the quarterbacks. And it's not the best to go from Bryce Young. You're like, okay, this is my quarterback. Let's get excited. We know the videos that were posted post-draft and OTAs and minicamp and training camp. Everyone was excited, and then it fluttered. This is not a Bryce Young discussion. It's not an Andy Dalton discussion. But I do think we have to factor those things into play when we look at Xavier's performance from year one. So what can we build upon? In his first season, had around, I believe, 13 starts, almost 50 receptions, and right under 500 receiving yards with 4 touchdowns. Now, the touchdowns came earlier in the season, and during that time, he did look like a red zone target. And unfortunately, things kind of just fluttered towards the end of the season, and we didn't see as much production. But it is what it is. I think for me, just getting him on the field is probably the most important thing in his rookie season. And we know, like we have said, that there were numerous situations where, yeah, probably if he makes a play, you think about the Philadelphia Eagles game all the time, that there's a good chance the Carolina Panthers win that game. In the grand scheme, what does that mean? Did the Panthers make the playoffs? Still probably no, but it does make you feel better about the team moving forward if you do. So on top of the drops themselves, you also have the body catches. And, for those who may not be as familiar with football in general, I mean, you really want to catch the ball with your hands. And whenever you start getting into, and there are certain situations where you're just going to have to catch it with your chest or your body. But when you start using your body to catch the ball, there's a good chance for it to bounce off. There's a good chance for you not to secure it, for it to get ripped away, for someone to take it away. You really want to use your hands. Like, that's the tools you've been given. And we've seen a lot of the hand catches with Tetairoa McMillan. We know Xavier has been focused on these things in the offseason, working to make himself better. I also throw into the mix, outside of catching the ball with his body, with the drops, you also look at some of the, I'm not going to call them jump balls, but him jumping versus continuing to run routes. That has also been a theme that we've seen. I went through a lot of his film this offseason, and one of the things that we saw was him just stopping, like we said, making weird, trying to make an acrobatic play when he didn't need to, mistiming the jump as well, and things just, didn't look as great. So you have all those things. So you think about Xavier, he was drafted with a mindset of development. Like, the Carolina Panthers wanted to develop him. There were a lot of options, probably more crisp, available guys that could have been selected. Carolina Panthers had their guy. They made their decision. And as they talk about development and making the players and building the culture here, that's what they wanted. And I got to tell you, the off the field and the person that he is, Xavier sets a really good example. Like, we've seen a lot of what he's involved with. Of course, we know he's gone through quite a bit significantly in his personal life to even get to this point to make it into the NFL. But you combine all those things, and then probably the last little piece, just talking through his season, was the injury. And so we knew there was something happening with the wrist. We knew he got banged up, something happening with the foot. And so at the end of the season, right after the Super Bowl, we get confirmation that Xavier, and now we kind of bleed in because, that's the season's over. We bleed into this offseason now in 2025 and find out that he underwent foot surgery actually prior to the Super Bowl. So it was proactive intervention, allowed him to address a lingering issue and, of course, go through the recovery process much sooner. I remember when we saw him post on his Instagram page an ad right around the Super Bowl time, and he was on a scooter with his leg in a boot. And we posted it and we talked about it. And then it was a little surprising. This was all during a time where you didn't get to talk to him. You can get to talk to the Carolina Panthers because, it's a lull. There's not anything going on. And of course, like we said, we get later confirmation that he did have surgery on his foot. Now, there was a lot of discussion about his wrist, his hand, and you know what? Fans probably, at least the way they reacted, wanted him to have surgery there because I think people just naturally tried to say, hey, he had drops, and the issue with the drops and all these things put together was because of his hand and his wrist. Why didn't he get that fixed? Well, he didn't. They didn't feel that was a big enough issue. So he worked through that. He did get his foot taken care of. And now we are in the middle of preparation heading into the 2025 season. So let's talk about why we think Xavier is going to be successful. And then in the mix of all this, as we, go from the end of the season until now, like we said, he's had quite a run from a just off the field perspective, whether it was horse videos and horses with the family to the Kentucky Derby, which we've talked about, Glorilla rap videos, Carolina Hurricanes, Eastern Conference final game, being there, being, on the screen, doing a thing with the Hurricanes. Like, he has been present, and that his presence has been felt off the field to the point that, he's just taking advantage of it. And it's smart marketing for himself. It's a smart decision for his future. But you have people that are just bashing him for even having a life outside of football, like we said. So what has he done? Now, we've heard from him a little bit this offseason. Biggest thing I want to highlight for folks that have not paid attention is his ability to take ownership on what has happened. So it was not only a physical recovery this offseason, it also went through this idea of going through film studies. So he engaged in film with his coaches. So, of course, wide receiver coach Rob Moore, offensive coordinator Brad Idzik. They reviewed every single one of his 84 targets from the previous season. Primary objective of this was analysis and honing in on the fundamental techniques of catching the ball with his hands, like we said, as opposing it to allow it to come into his body, and correcting specific issues such as, maybe crossing your eyes or not seeing the ball the way you want to. So you think about this detailed self-assessment and commitment to refining his craft. I think that speaks volumes for who this guy is and how hard he's working. You have to have self-awareness within yourself. And I got to tell you, it's not easy to critique yourself. It is not. Like, think about just your life in general. If you had to go critique yourself every single day or put what you do on film, like, even me as someone that creates content, I create this stuff and I put it out, and I probably should watch it, and I probably should fix things as far as like going back over it and or preparing to get better as I do this. There's some days I'm just like, nah, I can't do it. I'm not watching it. I'll cut it. I'll put it out and we move on. That's what I do. So to have a decision to go back and say, you know what? Nope, I'm not satisfied. I'm going to watch every single clip, every single target that I had. I'm going to figure out what I did well. And also I'm going to figure out, like, where do I need to improve? And I think those pieces are what are going to, push him forward this year. Like, he is not a slouch. He's not a Mingo, no offense to Jonathan Mingo, but he is a very hard worker. And you get these acknowledgments from Coach Canales, who's endorsing him, talking about his work ethic, characterizing him as an over worker who is wired the right way. He emphasized his exceptional dedication, saying you can't get him out of the building. He's there early and late, and confirming that he's grinding, doing all the right things. So for me, on top of that, you now have this mental transformation on top of the physical transformation with him, in that he is also focused on just, I think, the motivation side of it, but being happier, smiling. And these things sound somewhat stupid, but there's a mental aspect to sports. It's a mental aspect to life. If you are keeping, down in the dumps all the time, you're not going to perform as well as when you're happy and you're motivated and you're feeling good about yourself and like the work that you've put in. So for me, it's been a clear transformation. And now here's the caveat. We have to see it. Now, by seeing it, I don't think that means that we have to put down 1,000 yards. I don't think that's the expectation of who I see Xavier Legette as a wide receiver right now. I think that the doors, the hinges have been opened a little bit, and that we're moving in the right direction, and we should see a step forward. And you think about Tetairoa McMillan being here, how that's going to elevate the offense. We've talked about that. Again, I think those things are going to do wonders to allow Xavier to really play. He can get open. And if he can work through some of these things, I would expect pretty big year for him coming out. And you look at this now, talking through all the facets of everything that he has gone through. And so why I believe Xavier is going to have a big year in 2025. I mean, you really just pile all these things together. I don't think we're going to see a slump. I think there was enough positive in year one, and now he gets the second year. And we've already heard from Coach Idzik. We've heard from Canales, like we said, that you now have him going through the full program in the OTAs, in the offseason, being there. He already knows the playbook. And folks, we talked about the benefit of knowing the playbook, getting lined up, being able to get the extra wrinkles and really just work on your craft and not having to think so much when you're out there. And so I look at all those things piled together, and I think that there's just less pressure on Xavier. And last year, I think he was kind of thrown into it. And like, yes, he's a first-round talent. Again, whether it's first, second round, doesn't matter where you're picked, but he has that talent. He has that ability. And I think, like, just given how he's going to be able to ease into this a little bit more this year, I fully anticipate a big season for him heading into 2025. He has too many attributes of a good player. His work ethic is too good. If he can just fix some of the catching and the drops, when I say fix the catching, get better about catching with his hands, he can run with the ball. We've seen that. He's got the speed, like we said. He has the breakaway. And then, let's leverage what he's good at in this offense, not forcing him to be X or the number one wide receiver or the number one option on every play. And you pair that with Bryce Young, who is now going to see him for a second year, who is also coming together in the offense, playing better and did play better down the stretch. And you marry all those things together with Canales, second year, Idzik, like we said. And I think Xavier is going to be due for a breakout season here in Carolina, which should get Panthers fans excited about the investment. So anyways, folks, that is going to do it for today's episode. This is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.